Oh. Oh.
It's red.
From the top.
There you go.
Start singing.
It's blinking.
I need to.
I think it's just blinking because the battery's dead. Go ahead. I think you're. Go ahead, sir.
Now we're all set.
Look at that.
Okay, do I have to call the meeting to order again? I don't think so, do I?
Nope.
Did everyone hear me the first time? But anyhow, I'll call the meeting to order for our City Council Finance meeting for September 17th, 2018. Councilors, you have a very short agenda, and the first items that we have before us are the promotions that were sent to this Committee on Finance from our last City Council meeting. They were read and referred to this committee. So I don't know how you want to handle that. I know that the gentlemen, unless there is anyone here, naturally I would introduce, but I don't think that they are. I uninvited them through my executive power with working with our chief of police, Mr. Crowley, in regards to not having them here because there's some questions about their work schedule, and naturally they'd be having to come here while they would be on duty. Counsel Fowle.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we waive the reading of items 1 through 7 and have them appear as they do on the agenda.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded that we're going to waive those items 1 through 7. All in favor? Opposed? So be it.
And, Mr. Chairman, if I could
Yes.
follow up with that, it's very clear under state law that the mayor has the right, as the appointing authority, to promote police and fire officers, police and fire personnel. I support that. I have no problem with that. I do have an issue, however, with forwarding these to the city council for our approval, when in fact we really don't have that authority and responsibility. And I think it's disingenuous, and I think it's inappropriate to give the public the impression that we have that authority and responsibility when we don't. When the mayor makes promotions, he could let us know, send us an email, and if someone wants to go to the swearing-in ceremony and greet the people, I think that's perfectly appropriate. But I really do object to making it appear as though the legislative branch of city government is ceremonial. I'd like the people in this community to feel that we are an important part of city government. We're deliberative, we're thoughtful, we handle the items to which we're assigned by virtue of the city charter or by state law, but we don't get involved in items which perfectly reasonably and appropriately fall to the chief executive. So I would hope in the future that that's how we'd handle it, and I appreciate the fact that we have some officers here. Well, we have the chief here. I don't have any questions of him, but that's my thinking on this issue. Let's get back to what our responsibilities are and let the mayor do what his responsibilities are and just share the information. So thank you,
Exactly.
Mr. Chairman.
No, and I think what I'm going to do when I do speak with him probably tomorrow, I'm just going to indicate to him for future, he can just send it under communications as we always receive before each and every city council meeting, and that way there we know. And as you just said, when the date is going to be that they're going to be sworn in, naturally, we are always invited and we can attend, and if we can't, we can't. But I think that's the appropriate way of doing it, because as you said, and you are a mayor, he has the appointing power, and so be it. Yeah, just the way that it is. So,
Both the police and the fire.
pardon me.
The police and the fire.
Police and the fire, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I think that's just the best way to do it. Now, if anyone did have, I know the chief is here, and I think Captain Williamson is here as well. If anybody did have a question, if not,
Just going to make a favorable recommendation back to full council.
motion been made and seconded to send back to the full city council. All in favor? Opposed, goes back to the full city council, and I want to thank the gentleman that did come this evening and be prepared for any questions that were going to be asked. Thank you, all of you, thank you.
President, also as customary, and I concur with both your concepts and Mr. Farwell's, but if they were here right now, we'd applaud them, so I think it's the right thing to do. They were just promoted, they really give a lot to the city of Brockton, so.
Thank you. That being said,
I would just like to make a
Counselor?
comment as well. Thank
Yes.
you. Actually, I understand that it was ceremonial, but I felt that that was a great opportunity for the public and ourselves to actually meet them. So it was something that I actually enjoyed, so I just wanted to put the comment out there. It gave us the opportunity to see some of our new police officers and new fire, whoever the new hires. So if that stops, I will miss that part of it, but I will take part if the mayor invites us to their, when they are sworn in. Thank you.
You're welcome, Counselor. Any others? That being said, we'll go to item number 8, just to be read.
Ordered, within 20 days of the approval of this order, the city solicitor shall transmit to Attorney Shannon Resnick, Legislative Counsel for the City Council, the following: a copy of all emails, agreements, or other documents in the possession of any city employee or official which constitute a purported legal amendment to the original water service agreement, thereby reducing the required amount of capacity to 3.81 million gallons per day on a temporary or permanent basis. A copy of the statute, ordinance, court decision, or other legal basis for the singular authority by the mayor or other city official to amend the original water service agreement without the approval of the city council. A copy of all emails, agreements, or documents from any representatives of Aquaria Water LLC relating to the alleged amendment to the original water services agreement and received by any city official or employee. Within 30 days of the receipt of the documentation and information requested above, the Legislative Council to the City Council shall forward to the City Council a report as to whether any valid binding amendment to the original water services agreement was properly executed by any person with authority to do so. Invited, Shannon Resnick, Legislative Counsel to the City Council.
Councilors, the attorney was here earlier because she was here for the public safety meeting, and she did indicate to me that she wanted to have this postponed, and I believe we're going to postpone it till the 2nd.
Whatever, FinCom in October, your discretion.
Okay, so we will postpone it to a FinCom meeting in the month of October. Councilor?
Mr. Chairman, a quick question.
Sure.
As to the postponement, why are we postponing this? If we basically are requesting letters and documentations from city officials, why are we postponing the order itself? So why don't we just basically go forward with at least the asking part of these documentations, if that's what we're doing?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Councilor. Councilor Fowle.
through you to Councilor Rodriguez, this was co-filed with Councilor at Large Robert Sullivan. It's just a professional courtesy. They've asked, I think they want more time to be able to take a look at what they've got, where they're going to have to obtain it, consult the water department and some other people. So the answer is, I don't know why they really want the postponement, but I do think as a matter of professional courtesy, we ought to postpone it to FinCom and go from there.
Well, through the chair, I wasn't exactly sure who was asking for the postponement. From what I understood, at least from the way I saw it, it was because our legislative counsel wasn't around, and that's why we're postponing it, because she wasn't here as an invited guest to this particular order. So that wasn't quite clear who was asking the postponement.
And it was through her to us. It was from the city solicitor's office to her and then to us tonight, and that's what precipitated.
So the solicitor's office asked for the postponement?
That's correct.
Exactly,
yes.
yes, exactly. So that motion,
Second.
second, to postpone to a meeting in October. All in favor? Opposed? Item number 9, Madam Clerk.
Ordered, that the City Council hereby declare that the vacant land on Thatcher Street in Brockton, Mass., identified as Assessor's Parcel 132-15, Plot 21, containing 36,175 square feet, plus or minus described in a plan dated March 8, 2018, entitled Plan of Land Prepared by J.K. Holmgren Engineering, Inc., registered professional engineers and land surveyors, and more fully identified in Exhibit A, is surplus property and available for disposition, and that the mayor and/or treasurer be authorized to execute any and all documents necessary to sell the property for nominal consideration to Donald A. Galante, Jr., as he is the trustee of the Regal Trust, a Massachusetts nominee trust dated May 11, 2000, and recorded at Book 18512, page 1 of the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds, in City Council, July 23, 2018, and referred back to Finance Committee. Invited Larry Rowley, Commissioner, Department of Public Works, Philip C. Nasrallah, City Solicitor, Attorney James Burke, representing Mr. Donald Galante, Jr.
Councilors, I'm not too sure who wants to, any councilors want to start off first, or do you want to hear from?
President, just
Councilor
for, again,
Sullivan?
for piece of information, I filed this order. It was vetted out by our legislative council. Before I actually signed off in the clerk's office, I had, of course, courtesy to the ward councilors, both Council Beauregard and Castro looked at it as well. It did come to finance. At that time, Attorney Burke and Nazarella were both here. It came back to council, and then out of respect for Council Castro and Fowler, they had further questions. So that's why it's before us again tonight, and I do see the attorneys here. So I appreciate everybody, and hopefully we'll get it squared away. But it was a settlement agreement with the city and a private business owner.
Right, right. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Council. Thank you for clarifying
Chairman,
that.
just as a point of information.
Council Fowle, yes.
We did receive a communication by email from the city solicitor asking if there were any questions that might be raised tonight, could we let him know in advance? And I did send something back to him, I believe, between 10 and 11 this morning, and, oh,
He's here.
forgive me, I did not see him. It must be old age. My apologies.
He
It's
is,
definitely old age.
he is present. So, do we want to hear from Attorney Nazarella first, or does somebody have a question?
No, okay.
Just, and I know Attorney Burke is here, well, I appreciate him being here, and Commissioner Rowley as well.
Mr. Chairman, I'll defer to the ward councilors if they want to go first.
Okay.
No, go right ahead.
Councilor Castro?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Attorney
Good evening.
Mazzarella. Thanks for coming. I'm having a busy
My
day.
pleasure, and incidentally, I did have that communication with Councilor Farwell, but I did tell him he was limited to 3 questions, but that didn't stop him. I mean, it was that,
Oh, geez, I didn't know about that, sorry. Thank you. I wasn't able to respond in writing to your message earlier today. I'm having a headbanger of a day. I'd like you to give us a little narrative about what happened here.
Sure. In approximately 2006, the city was under an enforcement order by the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection to cap the landfill that exists on that land adjoining Mr. Gallant. So a plan was drawn by J.K. Holmgren, and the city commenced capping the landfill and doing whatever is collaterally required to cap the landfill. During that process, there was an issue with creating the proper slope and grade to the landfill area, which caused them to extend their circumference area of work into what is Mr. Gallant's area. There's always the issue as whether they knew or Mr. Gallant knew, but nonetheless, the fact is they did encroach on Mr. Gallant's area. And they, in turn, fenced off the area, excluding anyone other than the city from using that land. Mr. Gallant's quantum of property is approximately almost 8 acres, 7.69. The area that they had encircled with a fence is approximately 23% of Mr. Gallant's property. Rolling forward in time, the matter came before the city. a few years ago. If I may back up, Counselor, when the city undertook that process of capping the landfill and extending their work onto Mr. Gallant's land, the normal process would have been to commence a legal taking of the property. That was never done. They just went on the land, which raises the issue whether or not they knew or did not know they were on city land or not. Moving forward, the city was notified of the issue, and a lawsuit was filed on behalf of Mr. Gallant by his attorney, Attorney James Burke. And the lawsuit, and in discussions with Attorney Burke, sought well over $150,000 in damages. Mr. Gallant was paying taxes, full taxes on that property, which was assessed for, I believe, $433,000, and was not aware he could have abated it because he didn't know that was part of the mix that they were assessing. So the lawsuit sought a significant amount of money, plus attorney fees, and was approaching over $200,000. We commenced negotiation with Mr. Burke, and the goal was to try to reduce the price. And in exchange, the quid pro quo to reduce the price was Attorney Burke indicated there was an interest by Mr. Gallant to take some of the low-value land across the street on Thatcher Street. They would have agreed, it was first 110, then 99,000, I think it's 90,000 now, cash settlement, plus the property across the street. And what I understand is there is a right-of-way by the Lavelle family on that property, and in order to buy out the Lavelle family, there's a transaction that will be about a $60,000 payment to them. Hence the reason that they were seeking the cash as part of the settlement. So the city, the law department looked at it, we analyzed the basis of the case, and we negotiated a number and a process that we thought was fair and equitable for all parties. And I will state that determination as to if we should settle a case or not settle it and how much we should settle it for takes in factors and circumstances beyond whether or not it's a case we can win or lose. When we're dealing with eminent domain cases, it's a very specialized area of practice you're aware of. We would probably seek outside counsel, and I have no doubt $40,000, $50,000 off the top would go to legal fees. If there was a judgment against the city, and they assess them at 1 times 1.5 value, we could be talking high numbers. Our determination was also based on the fact that the land across the street was of low value, as related to us by the Assessors Department, and it seemed that exchanging or conveying that parcel of property together with the cash settlement was a fair and equitable deal. And that's pretty much a sum of how we got to where we are.
Okay.
And to this date, we could not go back, remove a fence, and restore any of that property because of that enforcement order.
Okay, well, thank you for that information. I'm really concerned. I've reviewed Attorney Burke's complaint. The dates are very, very odd because he recites in here, and I assume that you've confirmed all of this, that this situation started in 2006. The capping started in 2003. The plan is dated 2008 that was submitted to the DEP. The lawsuit was filed, or the lawsuit is dated July 31st of last year, 2017. I understand that it was not filed with the Superior Court, or to date it has not been filed. Is that right? Has the lawsuit been filed with the court? It has been?
It's a pending lawsuit,
Okay, okay.
and we've been kicking off, or lack of a better word, extending dates for discovery and dates for appearances in court to see if this would have come to fruition or not.
Okay. Well, the correspondence I received from Attorney Burke is dated mid-May, okay? I was not aware of this before now. it's just hard for me to understand. How did this happen with the city? Is there anyone around who has personal knowledge of this?
That I do not know. I don't know. This would have predated Mr. Rowley. I don't even know if Mr. Thorson was at the helm, so I don't know how it happened.
Okay. And I noticed in the settlement agreement, is this a negotiated settlement agreement? Is the city admitting that all this stuff happened?
We're stating, not admitting, not denying. And some of it did happen. I mean, we entered the land, we capped the property.
Right. I'm just surprised that we're, and like number 9 on the settlement agreement, that we're admitting to clear cutting, filling, grading, fencing, and extending, and so on and so forth.
It's a matter of fact, it happened.
Okay.
There is a penalty, Counsel, as you may be aware of, you blatantly deny something that is clearly a fact. So I didn't want to get into that. We admitted that.
Okay. And talk to me about the land across the street. Now, according to the assessor's database, it's worth $88,700.
Excuse me?
The land across, I'm sorry, the land across the street that is part of the settlement, the $90,000 plus the land across the street. According to the assessor's database, it's worth $88,700. I believe it is a buildable lot in an R1C zone. Have you had it appraised?
I have not had it independently appraised. I relied on the information received from the assessor's office.
Okay.
And I'm also led to believe that a portion of that is wetland.
Okay. I did check with the Conservation Commission, just a very, very small piece of it to their knowledge. They looked at a map. I'm also interested to know, this land that is part of this settlement that the city now owns, it abuts a piece of land that's owned by Mr. Galante personally. And that piece of land is also an R1C zone, and I've driven by this property about a dozen times since this first came to me in late May. And the land that is now owned looks like a junkyard. And Councilor Beauregard and I, in speaking about this several times, is the land that we're conveying as part of this transaction going to extend, it's going to be the extended junkyard when it's an R1C?
I have no knowledge of that. I don't know what his plans are with that land. No, I can't respond to that.
Okay. Well, maybe Mr. Burke would come up and talk with us about that.
Sure.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Mr. President, members of the City Council, thank you for inviting me.
Attorney, thank you.
The question, Counselor?
Oh, thank you. And I apologize that you've had to make a return engagement with us this evening, and I am grateful
My
to you for
pleasure.
coming. Thank you. I know Councilor Beauregard feels the same way. And my question is that the land that is part of this settlement that you propose to have the city convey as part of the settlement, it abuts land that's owned by Mr. Galante personally. And in making a physical inspection of the property, walking the land and all that, it's being used as a junkyard, even though it's an R1C, and it's not, I've double-checked my old file, it's not part of the Junkyard Overlay District, which Regal Auto Parts and Everett Auto Parts benefits from. Is that going to stay that way?
To your question, I represent Mr. Gallant only in this matter. I don't handle Mr. Gallant's licensing in relation to the operation of this facility. So I cannot speak as to what his plans are. I will concur that I believe that the land is in an R1C zone. That's both parcels. The
Yes.
parcel he owns, the parcel he would acquire.
Yes.
I would also concur that it is not included within the junkyard overlay district. What his future plans are or how he is going to approach the utilization of the property, I'm not sure. I will be happy to convey your concerns to him and in terms of assisting him in making his final determination. To assist my brother and to respond, prior to the resolution of the lawsuit, I believe the assessor secured an independent appraisal from an outside appraiser and determined that the value was approximately $30,000 and was part of a low value. And that was, I believe, substantially based on the condition of the property, but also the existing right-of-way that drove through the property. It also contains roughly, I believe, 36,000 square feet as compared to the 1.8 acres that as part of the settlement, Mr. Gallant would be conveying to the city of Brockton. I can suggest to you, just as an aside, that I think the law department did an exceptional job in reaching this resolution. I think that the numbers involved are extremely low for an eminent domain case. It's not something I would have necessarily liked my client to consider, but he wanted to work with the city, and it was his decision to make this resolution. And as part of the $90,000 figure, as I think it was explained to you, in order to have any value to the extent that he can, in fact, manage the property exclusively, he has to take out the Lovell's ownership interest in the right-of-way. To do that, the only thing they would do is sell the worthless backland, which is to the rear of the property, which is almost 80 to 90% wetland. But in order to extinguish the easement, they were required to purchase the property from the Lovells. That purchase price is $60,000. So of the $90,000 windfall from the city, 60 is going to be used to make the parcel usable for his perspective. I'd also point and suggest to the council that you may want to consider that the appraisal on the city's determination historically had the value of the real estate at roughly $433,000. If you took out 23, that's just the real estate. They had a separate appraisal on the buildings.
And you're talking about the real estate that is Regal Auto Parts? The
I
land-
am.
The land across the street?
I am.
Okay.
And if you took out that 1.8 acres of the valuation based on the city's assessment, that would be worth $99,000. How the city arrived at the figure of $90,000, which was in fact their offer and the floor that Mr. Gallant was willing to consider, I don't know, but the math is very close. I'd suggest, I think that Attorney Nazarella and the law department, and I credit Mr. Gallant because he had direct communications with Mr. Nazarella and the mayor, wanted to work with the city, and that's how we got to where we are. And I think the value of this case on an eminent domain basis is closer to $600,000 or $700,000 plus the continuing interest on a continuing trespass that's occurring.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
So, Mr. Attorney, let me just ask you a quick question here. If we were to, if nothing was to be done, I mean, would I be sensing somewhere that we could be brought into some type of litigation as well? And no?
We're already in litigation.
We are in litigation.
We are in litigation. We have sued the city
Right.
for the continuing trespass, the conversion,
Right,
the violation of the Chapter 79, the eminent domain statute,
right,
also the constitutional right of taking without compensation.
right, okay.
And there's already litigation. That will all go away because the mayor has the ability to make a settlement determination based on a number.
Right,
But in order to make this uniquely happen, the city council has to approve the transfer of the real estate. If
Gotcha.
it happens, then the matter is over with.
and for the amount of money that I think we're talking, only in my way of looking at it, makes a lot of sense to me, to be truthful with you.
I think
And
it's-
I've discussed it with the mayor's discussed it with me when I've had meetings with it, and he even indicated to me, he says, you know, I can't understand what the holdup is over something so, you know, becoming somewhat petty, to be truthful with you. And I don't mean that in a negative way to Councilor Petty either, but, you know, I mean, just seriously, I mean, enough is the way I look at it, and just be done with it, you know? I lived on the east side for many years, so I know what pieces of property you're talking about, and I just think it's getting carried out a little bit too far. But I appreciate what you've done, and the Attorney Nazarella and the city to try to put this thing together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Councilor Sullivan.
I just wanted to get some clarity. First of all, again, this was brought up when Councilor Stadinsky was the ward council, and again, he got sick and he was in the hospital. That's how I got involved in the order itself. But I just want to make sure it's clear to everybody here. So there is a lawsuit, Superior Court. It's being told right now for negotiation purposes. If the settlement happens, it gets dissolved, it's gone. So there'll be an execution of a simultaneous deed. City will convey the land across the street, and Mr. Gallant will convey that 1+ acres to the city. It'll be recorded, and they've already been prepared and such. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome, Councilor
Chairman?
Powell.
Just not necessarily in response to you, but I don't think it's petty to be able to ask questions and to justify our position when we're talking about $90,000 and deeding over a piece of property to someone. I think the constituents expect us to know what the hell we're doing and to know the facts, and so granted, this has come back in here again, but notwithstanding the mayor's impatience that we do not rubber stamp things, tough luck. I think that's our job. If people don't like it, so be it, but
Not to, but I wasn't trying to indicate that, Counselor. I just have my own feel of, I guess that's my many years of experience, I guess, doing things within the city, and at some point in time, I think we hold out and we play, I don't say we play games, but sometimes I just see us always going at something that we try to get done in the city, we nitpick at, and if somebody doesn't like it because I've said that, well, I apologize. I do work for the city, I work for the people of Ward 3, and I work for the city of Brockton, but I think in this case here, I think it's a clear, clean-cut situation, so that's my thought on it, just, that's the way I look at it. So
Well,
I
I-
apologize if I made some negative marks with
I
this. how I
certainly
feel.
respect your opinion. I just find it interesting that 23% of a gentleman's piece of property is apparently taken over, and years go by before any civil suit is filed. If someone took over 23% of my business and my property, I think I would be on that immediately, and I would certainly go for a reduction in whatever assessment I'm receiving in terms of property taxes. Some of the questions that I now have are, if John Holmgren drew up a plan, Holmgren Associates is clearly one of the most professional and competent ones. I don't know who followed that plan and encroached upon this gentleman's land. If we knew, is it too far to go back and say to the company that did the work, did you follow the plans? Are you partially responsible here for any monetary settlement? I agree with you. It's not the biggest issue, but there's just a lot of interesting aspects to this that I think aren't in the traditional, okay, the city made a mistake, this is how we're going to resolve it. And for one, I'd really want a deed restriction that we don't expand the junkyard down there. I mean, I really, you come into this city from another community, and what do you first see? Come down Thatcher Street. Someone sent me a couple of pictures of the property where allegedly, and I don't know, I'm not a surveyor, Mr. Galanti may have encroached upon city property. So we kind of have a situation here where maybe there's some mutual responsibilities. But that's why I thought it was important to have it come back. I appreciate the work that the solicitor has put into it. And just in response, I'll pick one question for the solicitor in response to my question about what damages did he actually incur? Is it just the loss of 23% of his property?
Deprivation of the use of his property.
So we didn't pollute it.
Correct.
We didn't take topsoil. We didn't change the topography. We just,
Topography and the grade was changed.
it was great, okay. So, but nothing beyond that? No environmental hazards dumped there, no? Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome,
But I
Counselor.
will say the deprivation of property is the salient point. I mean, the fact
Yeah.
that whether you keep it in pristine position, I got it and you can't have it anymore. That becomes the offense.
Well,
value to that.
if I could, Attorney Nasrallah, I would think that if he had seen this area suddenly taken over and he'd called the city, I would have thought that whoever the DPW commissioner was at the time, or the mayor, would have immediately had someone go down there and say, whoa, time out. We have clearly exceeded what we were supposed to do, and this would have been resolved. And it just strikes me as odd, it's taken 10 years from
agree.
2008
Had he
until now.
known. And it starts as to when he did become aware of it. So I don't know what he knew back then and didn't know. If you know about it, have reason to know about it, and you don't do anything, that's a different formula.
How could he not know about it? Thank you.
You're welcome, Counselor Beauregard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry. Thank you both for coming out this evening. To me, not that I doubt my colleague, Counselor Sullivan, the confusion was, to me, the years. I mean, I remember when this all had to happen with capping the landfill and all the trouble that people were going through and the West Bridgewater and different decisions being made. I mean, so you have 2003, then you have 2006, and then that's where it seems strange to me. So that's why I was curious. Then I thought maybe, oh, well, maybe someone died in the family, and then someone took over, and this is why they went through these various steps, and someone, I would say, was more diligent, monitoring it. So those were my concerns right there, and making sure that this was properly vetted through both, the city, and seeing that it wasn't, a detriment, how would I say, a situation where the taxpayers would question it, and then the other half was that, again, myself, just like my colleague here, a little curious, if somebody starts, setting up on your property, I come in and say, excuse me, why are you here today? Something like that. And of course, because the engineers, and going to a lot of planning board meetings and whatever, they come up with their little map and, they go through everything. So that's why that struck me too, because I would think that the individual would have seen, the proprietor would have seen this map. So that was another part. And the last part is, certainly we are concerned about the, quote, junkyard status, end quote, because the neighbors don't want that. And certainly after last week's little fire there at another junkyard, where, those are concerns that come our way. And, as my colleague alluded, the first thing you see is a junkyard. Now, we realize they have to exist, it's necessary, but at the same time, it's just a matter of monitoring it. And I can understand where there can be some confusion sometime when, how would I say, a third party steps in, like the DEP, to say that they needed to cap the whole situation. And at no time do I believe it's, the situation of the current head of the DPW. But that's where it all seemed weird, and that's why I wanted to
Counselor,
go
to
through.
your
So I
point,
appreciate that.
there
Yeah.
are many issues and questions that are unresolved, unclosed. Hence the reason we're bringing it to a settlement. So the city has some meritorious issues. The plaintiff has meritorious issues. But as I said in my opening, part of this is a calculated business decision to stop the financial flow of funds and expending something over what I think is a business matter. There are other cases in litigation we have where we go all the way because there's more involved than simply dollars and cents. A few years ago, I represented the city, and it was a dog bite case where it was the police canine bit someone who deserved to be bit, and we were in federal court. Finally, the plaintiff's attorney realized, and we negotiated for 7 months, he realized his case was waning somewhat. Right in the courthouse, he said, will you just give me $1,000? Now, that usually is done. And I said, no, I can't. There's more at stake than this. The honor and dignity of the police officer, the appropriateness of what he did, and we tried the case, and we prevailed, we won. That's a different type of thing. Here, there are business decisions. There are, as you stated, some issues that I think the city would prevail on, and there are credible questions that could be answered. But we're trying to bring it to a close.
No, thank you very much, and I can understand that. So my concern too is the deed restriction, for the situation, and not expanding on the junkyard. And I believe that my colleagues are also in agreement with that. Thank you.
All set, Counselor?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Rodriguez, and then
I just have
Counselor
a quick question for the attorney. Phil, honestly, is this the best possible deal for the city?
One time they asked General Patton, is this the best deal we can get? He said, a good deal today is better than the best deal 2 years from now.
So as far as the resolution,
This is well, as I said we have a fair and equitable arrangement.
but in your opinion, this is basically, with all the stuff that we heard and all the situation that we heard, for the folks that are watching at home, for us that's sitting in this room, this is the best possible solution to resolve this issue.
Fair question. It is the result of a negotiation that's been going on for a year in between doing the legalities of it. I don't see it being dramatically different if we went back and arm wrestled over this to see if we could get a modification of where we are. So I think the operative word for me is that a fair, equitable decision, a resolution. I will state that I think Attorney Burke may have an issue with a deed restriction on the property, just for the council's consideration if they were thinking about that. That was not in any of our discussions, did not come up, and I just think you should be aware of that before we...
You find out what's coming.
In order to address that, Counselor, I understand where you're coming from. I think it's very simple. The zoning is the zoning. The zoning can and should be enforced, whatever the zoning is.
Okay.
If at some point in time, an owner of a property wanted to take available procedural steps to try and modify that, they would have the ability to do that. Deed restriction prevents that.
Okay.
That's not what he negotiated. I concur and agree that what he's getting is what he's getting. And you have to deal with that from a business perspective. But in terms of the future utilization of the property, we could not live with the deed restriction. It simply was not what was negotiated.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Counsel, were you through, Counsel Rodriguez, or?
No, I was actually, is somebody else that?
Counsel Razak, but I mean, if you weren't through.
No, I was actually just going to move this along in the sense if there weren't any more questions on
I
this
had a
particular issue, so.
Counsel Razak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney Nazarella, thank you for being here this evening, as well as Attorney Burke. Quick question, so if I'm trying to understand this whole situation. So the engineering company, Brockton-based engineering company, presented plans with meets and bounds and with all the correct information. Who put up the fence?
The city did.
The city did, okay. So the plans were correct, it was just the fence was put up incorrectly?
That's one of the issues that would be in part of the debate.
Okay, so is the engineering company involved in this, or is it, so it's only the city that's involved? So what was presented to, so my question is, the engineering company presented correct plans with
Correct.
correct?
They're not a party to the action.
Okay, thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
Mr. Chairman.
Counsel Darrencourt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Attorney Nazarella, may I please?
Attorney Nazarella?
He's
Yeah,
talking to them.
Counsel Darrencourt has a question.
What if it's an ordinance?
Excuse me.
No problem. So thank you. It's good to see you. Based on everything that I've been hearing here tonight and in regard to some of your statement, according to this case, it seems like it's very complex and deep based on what's going on. So as somebody that represents the entire city, I do believe that I have a solemn obligation to not only hear what you have to say, but also ask you a few questions. My colleague just asked you whether or not you believe this is the best deal. I'm not going to ask you the question, but I'm going to ask you something different. According to your experience and based on the evidence that you have according to that case, do you believe the city has a shot in winning it? And if not, why?
Well, that's an answer. It's a fair question, Counselor, but being in a public forum with the plaintiff's lawyer next to me, I'd prefer not to get into that. That would be an executive
Oh, no problem.
session response.
Well, sounds good. I take your words for it and I appreciate it. Thank you.
You know, trials in court are very funny things. Sometimes you think you have a slam dunk, like Marsha Clark did with O.J. Simpson. It doesn't always work out that way. So he may think he has a
because the
winner,
glove
he may
didn't
not.
fit.
I think I have very defensible issues, but we're trying to not go all the way because there would be a significant expense in this type of litigation.
Okay, I see what you mean.
And
I
I
mean,
think we would get to a point where we say, gee, I wish we took the deal way back 2 years ago. So it's not always about right and wrong, it's about what does it take to end it.
yeah, because earlier you said a deal now is better than a deal 2 years from
I
now.
said a good deal, a fair deal now is probably better than the best one 2 years from now, because I'm thinking about the outside attorney's legal fees over those 2 years.
Because I believe he mentioned that we're talking about 700 something $1,000 earlier. Probably wrong with that comment, but I believe you mentioned that
I believe
number.
that's what they would be seeking if it went into if it went into court. Right now, it's a pending piece of litigation.
Interesting. So, well, thank you for your comment, and I appreciate it.
All
Thank you,
set,
Mr.
Counselor?
Chairman. Yes.
Okay. Any other, Counselor
I
Sullivan?
just had one follow-up.
Sure.
If I could. Attorney Nazarella, as a result of this, and I mean, Attorney DeCastro and I, we understand what it takes to settlements. I mean, it's not just saying we're going to settle today. It's months and months of back and forth, and I get it. My question is this: since this happened, have we, the city of Brockton, investigated to see if that fence has encroached any other private property owners? Or have we done any due diligence? Or maybe we should.
Yeah. I have not. Whether or not any of the other departments have, I can't speak to that. I have not.
Okay, thank you.
But I would follow up on that if that's the request.
I think we should do a due diligence, as we say. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome, Counselor. Any other comments or concerns?
Yeah, I do have another
Councilor Darren
comment. In regard to this case, if we're supposed to settle it, how long do you think it will take, as we speak,
How long would it take?
to just settle this case?
I think it would be
And obviously, this would be between you and.
rather quickly, because we've been discussing parameters and the issues, so we have
Motion to recommend.
understandings in place,
To recommend.
pending confirmation and consent by the council.
I mean, based on your observation and according to what you've been working with, meaning the evidence in regard to this case.
Within 30 days.
Okay, but do you believe that there's a possibility? I mean, this is a fair question to you. Do you believe there's a possibility for you and Attorney Barrett to come up with a conclusion that will, I would assume, benefits both parties
Yes,
at this point?
yes.
And
I'm very confident.
And based on that, the city will not be, I mean, I'm assuming that spending any amount of money in regard to this case will somewhat hurt the city, but I'm hoping it will not hurt the city in a way where it would be very detrimental to something in the future in regard to money-wise, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All set, Counsel. Commissioner, you all set up there? I know you're saying any input at all? No, you're all set,
He
okay.
shook his head no.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to ask Commissioner Rowley a question.
He was shaking his head no the whole
Oh,
time.
it's okay. Good evening, Commissioner. Thank you for being here. Just a quick question. I don't want to prolong this anymore. I know the attorneys have gone over most of the information, but what my colleague, Counselor Sullivan, just asked is a main concern. Who installed the fence? Somebody from the DPW, I'm figuring, is it?
I believe so, Counselor. That was before me, so
was
I
It was
before him.
before you.
can't
That's,
comment on that.
okay. Is there any way we could follow up, maybe to have somebody go out and check this along? It's a big fence. We don't want to see ourselves in a similar situation down the line.
Yeah,
Can we do
could.
that?
You're
That's my
going
question.
to have to hire someone to do a survey of that whole area. That's going to cost some money.
The law department will pay for it.
And then again, it might be right back there if they've approached somebody else's property, which I don't think they have.
Okay, well, that's our concern. is-
Side of that runs right down the street. It's just the Thatcher Street side with the junkyards.
Okay,
So
because I believe-
I think we're okay, but if you want that done, we can do it, but
I think it's
I
better.
don't know where the money's going to come from.
What are we looking at? How much approximately?
I have no idea.
No idea at all? I mean, is that something?
That's a big area.
It is a big area. But it's also, I just don't want to see us in the same situation. I believe one of my colleagues asked earlier, like, how does somebody not realize that somebody's encroached on their property? And honestly, until somebody goes and does their own plan, they don't realize that. So we might see ourselves in the future in a similar situation. So maybe it's better that we, foresee and try to fix it now than to find ourselves in a few years in a similar situation.
Okay.
Okay,
I
thank
think
you.
I think the only way we're going to be able to do that is probably just have discussion with what the mayor's thought is on it, Attorney Nazarella, to see what he thinks if, we should do it. And I think you're probably going to go back, I hate to say it, you're probably going to go back to Building Inspector Finnegan before Thorson, to be truthful with you. I think you're going to go back a few years, and you're right, it could cost some money, but in any case.
I
maybe
don't
we
think that
can-
would have come under the building
No, I
inspector,
don't
though.
think it would have come, no.
come under the building
I believe
inspector?
it should have been,
Yeah,
and that's why John Holmgren did all the work, so.
yeah, okay.
It's, you know, but
we
somebody
can
should have
take-
been there checking it, but who, I don't know who that would
Right,
be.
right, exactly.
Just to correct the record, and we don't put other people's name in the spotlight too prematurely, it was not Holmgren who did the original site plan and design. It was a company called Cytec.
Okay, see?
Okay.
Okay, and seeing any other
We'll make a
further-
favorable recommendation back to full council.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to go back to the full city council by a roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Yes.
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 10 in the affirmative, it goes back to the full city council. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen, all of you, for being here this evening. Thank you very much. Councilors, next week...
Mr. President, I do see the representatives from Aquaria in the back here. I'm not really sure why they're here, but
I can't answer that question because they're not on the agenda.
Last time we spoke, I said that I was going to be here this week, and I am here this week, so I stopped by.
oh, okay.
Oh,
Nice.
no.
Come down here, because I couldn't hear you from up there. I'm sorry.
Thank you for being here.
Good evening.
Oh, okay, so your answer
I thought
what?
last time we spoke,
Yes.
we came to a decision and we were going to be here on this week of the 17th, and I came here to the plant anyway.
Oh, okay,
So I
I
thought I'd
got
come
you.
by and just,
Well, I have
know
to
that
say
things
that...
have been a little
I
iffy
have-
over the years, so.
I have to say that you're shocking us, because nobody from Aquaria has ever said, let's
haven't
drop
done
in and have a
anything
cup
crazy
of
yet."
coffee, because that's never happened. So I appreciate that, you know, I
worries, no
appreciate that, you know, I mean, unfortunately, you know,
That's fine, that's
you will
fine.
be, you will be in, I think we're looking to do it in October, I think, is that what we were looking to do, Council Fowl? We still have them on,
Yes, but that would really only be for the solicitor and for Attorney Resnick.
right, okay.
Perhaps you could explain to him the order that we've postponed, just so they'll be forewarned, or one of us can, or...
Yeah, well, we do have them on the whole list, am I correct, Beatty, for not what we just did tonight, but what we
Yes.
did for the past.
I-
and-
I would
and,
just suggest we don't have them come back until Attorney Resnick does her.
Right, and
Don't
I would probably think, maybe while he is here, maybe that's when we should decide the date to have them come back, and the finance meeting in October, the last one, or, I don't know, when would you be coming back in this area again, do you
Well, I
think?
believe you guys have their meetings, the first and the third.
Exactly, right,
I come once a month. Usually I come on the third week of the month.
okay.
So I can always, move my schedule to be here on the third Monday of the month, I think it is.
Okay. Well, then we have the contact, we have your contacts and everything, so maybe we might want to look at the third Monday in October.
I don't know without talking to Attorney Resnick.
Okay.
That's a
Well,
possibility, but...
it's a
whatever.
possibility.
Just drop in again and we'll...
Well,
Well, I think possibly the safe would be more to look into November than we would October, okay?
Mr. President,
like I
if-
said before, I'm here once a month, so.
Okay, well, and that's nice to know.
Okay.
We appreciate that, too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
No,
you.
thank you.
so I was just going to let the gentleman know, so as a result of the visit that you had at the War Memorial, you had indicated to the council at that time that there had been an amendment from the mayor relative to the contract. At that time, a lot of us were quite shocked about that. We hadn't heard about that. So as a result of that, myself and my colleague, Council Fowler, we filed an order that was postponed tonight, where we're directing we have our own attorney, Attorney Resnick, to work with the city to get all the information to convey to the city council so we can examine that.
No worries.
So what I think what Mr. Fowler is trying to say is, we need to do that part of the order prior to having you back about that other endeavor. Isn't that correct?
That's
I
correct.
understand you
Okay.
have to do your due diligence.
Right, so that third Monday might be fluid.
Like I said, I'm
Okay.
available anytime.
Awesome, thanks.
Yeah,
right,
we'll be,
Mr.
we'll be in
President.
contact, though. Thank you very much.
Thanks for
Okay.
being here, though. Short.
Councilors, Councilor Beauregard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You
Two
don't have to
things.
stand, Council, you don't have to stand.
Fine. Yes, well, I stand because I'm the shortest one in this room. So, anyway, having said that, I will be having my Ward 5 meeting, on Wednesday, October 3rd, at the Brockton Main Library, beginning at 7 p.m. because now that the main library is open on Wednesdays till 9 o'clock. We'll be able to take advantage of that. Monday and Tuesday night it also is. And the other, I wanted to mention, the city is doing their hazardous materials pickup at the depot on Saturday. I believe it's 10 to 2, and that's kind of advantageous to move stuff out that is toxic and can create other problems. So that's what I just wanted to mention tonight. Thank you very much.
Okay, great, you're welcome, Councilor. Councilor Nacastro.
Thank you. A moment of personal privilege.
Yes.
I just wanted to remind everyone that I'm having a Ward 4 meeting, and it's going to be next Wednesday, September 26th, from 6:30 until 8, in the community room of the B Building at the Campello High Rise, and that's accessible from Plain Street. And I invite you all to join me. I don't have a big agenda this time, but it should be interesting as always. Thank you.
Very good, thank you, appreciate it. Councilor Azak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to invite everybody once again and remind them that this Thursday, September 20th to Sunday, September 23rd, is the Greek Festival at the Annunciation Greek Church at 457 Oak Street. I hope everyone will come out, enjoy some really great Greek culture, food, dance, music. It's a great time to support our Greek friends in the city, and I hope to see everybody there. Thank you.
You're welcome, Councilor. Anyone else? Seeing none? Meeting adjourned.